We're delighted to welcome our first guest, particularly this morning, a remarkable man who's just completed a lecture tour of South Africa and Southwest Africa. We welcome to the studio Dr. Reinhard Erös, who's an army surgeon in the West German Afghanistan Committee, stationed on the Pakistani-Afghan border, serving and helping the Afghan refugees, the Mujahideen. Good morning, Dr. Erös. It's a great pleasure and an honor to have you in the studio. You're a man who was voted in 1986 by De Welt as Hero of the Year. You have done incredible work. What, in fact, has brought you to South Africa to tell us about it and to share it with us?
It's very easy to explain. I received an invitation by United Christian Action. They asked me to come, so I came.
Is what you do primarily motivated through your Christian belief?
Yeah, you see, I'm a Christian and I'm a doctor and I'm a people who thinks politically too. So why should I not do this work? You see, there are so many reasons to do this work, to act as a doctor in a country where there are no doctors, where there is no medical infrastructure, where there is no medical
serving
system.
Muslims too, which is...
No, you see, I think these times are gone, that we should separate between Christians and Muslims and Hindus. This is nonsense. No.
But you've worked in other parts of the world as well, apart from the Pakistani border.
That's right. I started this kind of working on 1980 in some African countries. I started in Tanzania and Kenya. Then I continued in Guinea-Bissau. And the most impressive work that I did was a 2-month work in Calcutta, in the slums of Calcutta, with Mother Teresa. But then on Christmas '85, I received a small booklet, and this booklet from the Austrian professor of law, Ermakora, opened my eyes what was going on in Afghanistan. And then I decided to spend my vacations on '86 to work as a doctor in Afghanistan. I started this work on '86, then I continued it on '87, and now since March '88, I'm permanently in Peshawar with my family, with my wife, my 4 boys, and what I'm doing there is to try to get German nurses, German doctors cross-border inside Afghanistan to run these 14 clinics which we have established in the last 3-4 years.
You say what is going on in Afghanistan now? The news that we have is that the Russians are supposedly pulling out, but then you hear news reports of squadrons of MiG fighters being deployed again, etc., etc. What is the situation?
You see, when the Russians invaded on '79, the population of Afghanistan was 15 millions. Now they have the half, 8 millions. That means about 1.5 got killed, 90% women and children, and more than 5 millions are now living as refugees abroad, 3.5 in Pakistan and about 2 in Iran. So this population has been halved. This is the first thing. And since the Mujahideen, which are the freedom fighters or the fighters in the Holy War, did never give up this fighting, with their simple kind of weapons, with their very bad trained soldiers they have, and since they have received some high sophisticated weapon of the Americans on '87, these Stingers, you know this, the situation, the military situation has changed. So I think the Russians had no other chance than to leave some parts of the countries. I don't believe that they will leave the country politically. There are some signs in the last few months which show me that they are not interested to leave the country politically. For example, they made now Vorontsov, the former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, to the new ambassador in Kabul. This is a typical sign that they don't think to leave the country completely politically in the next future.
So why is it, sorry, I just want to say, why do the Russians say that it is so important for them to have the influence and to keep the political control of Afghanistan? You were saying earlier before we started, it's a benighted country in many ways. It's a harsh, unfriendly, inhospitable kind of country. Why is it so important to the Soviets?
You see, if you would look to a map, then you could see that Russian borders to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan borders to a small belt of Pakistan, which is called Balochistan, and then you have the Indian Ocean. So if the Russians could keep Afghanistan, then they have a distance of about 250 kilometers to the Indian Ocean.
So it's access to the sea that is important to them.
That's what they want since 250 years, since Peter the Great. They want to have a warm harbor, but up to now they don't want. And Karachi is one of the biggest harbors in the Indian Oceans. I think this was one of the targets why they invaded the country in 79. And occupying Afghanistan means also the distance from Russia to the oil fields of Iran, of Iraq, is very, very closer. If they could keep this country, then the distance is less than 200 kilometers to the oil fields. Now it's more than 1,500. So there are a lot of geostrategical reasons why they are still trying to keep this country under control.
You have some photographs that you brought with you. If we could have a look at those, and if you could just tell us what we are looking at.
Yeah. This shows you a shot-down jet fighter, shot down by the Mujahideen. It was a MiG-23.
Is that you on the left of the picture?
That's me on the left, and on the right side, this is the so-called commander. They call their leaders commander, who shot down this plane. As they have received these Stingers, about 600 to 700, I don't know exactly how many they received, they have been able to shoot down helicopters and jet fighters, which they couldn't do before. The numbers are from 500 to 600, which have they already shot down in the last 2 years. So it's a lot of. Yeah. Here you see, this is as you already told, this is a very rough country. There are no highways, so there's no chance to go by car or by lorry. Normally you have to walk by foot, or you have to use horses or camels or mules. And to cross the border means normally you have to climb very high mountains. For example, when I came back at the end of August this year, we had to climb a 4,700 meter high mountain. So we had snow on this mountain in summertime. It's very hard for our doctors to enter this country.
And of course, when you go back now, you'll be going back to the start of the winter, so presumably everything runs down, the whole scale of operations comes to a halt.
Winter time makes the war down, and also our activities.
So breathing space for you.
Right. Yeah, this shows a real horrible picture. It was a Mujahideen, a freedom fighter, who got injured by a tank grenade, and when he received with me, it was about 6-7 days old, so his wound was just rotten meat. It was terrible smelling, so I could do my amputation just by bandaging my nose and prevent this terrible smell. Yeah.
You obviously work under relatively primitive conditions when you operate.
You're absolutely primitive conditions, yeah. These are sometimes incredible. This shows you a very interesting thing. This is a young boy, about 10 years old, who tried to touch one of these so-called toy mines. I don't know if you have seen one of these toy mines here in South Africa, so I got one
there,
with me. There's a sample here. This is a very small, kind of, I don't know if you could call it weapon. It's an instrument of terror normally. It has no military use. They drop these things with helicopters, with jets in millions.
Is that what you call a butterfly bomb?
This is a butterfly or toy mine, right.
It flips down literally.
It flips down like a butterfly, like a bird, like a leaf. And if it hits the ground, then it becomes active. So that means if you touch it again or you step it, then it explodes. The explosive inside this mine, it's not enough to kill somebody. It's about 30 grams of fluid explosive, but it's enough to destroy, as you could see on this picture, to destroy your hand or your leg. And for us as a doctor, it's very difficult to treat these things, because when these patients come to us, then they do it after 2, 3, 4 days. So the infections are very serious, so normally we have to amputate these boys, these children, and that's why you find 10,000s of hand amputated, leg amputated children. The reason is these kind of toys. And we guess that 4 to 6 million of these mines are still in the country, placed on fields, around villages, on hills. And since this mine problem is not solved, there is no chance for the refugees to go back to their country.
It's not a very clean war to fight, to use that, but I think ethics don't come into it at all, because I believe that you claim that you don't even use the Red Cross sign anymore because it invites attacks.
No, there was no... when we started our work in '84, same happened to the French organization. Médecins Sans Frontières. Then we tried to protect our hospital with big Red Cross signs on the roof, on the walls. But when the helicopter came, when the jet came, they used this Red Cross as a target. So we have some pictures after attack that only one house got destroyed, our hospital. So why we decided to take away this Red Cross, and why we decided to move from buildings to caves now. Now, most of our hospitals, our clinics are now in caves.
Doctor, finally, what are you going to continue to do? Where are you going to get the resources and the strength to carry on? What lies ahead for you in Afghanistan?
Yeah, this is our main problem now. Since the Russians have signed this Geneva Accord spring this year, our funds, and we live from private funds, are going down very steeply. So if there is no change, then we have to cut or we have to halve our work next year. So that's why I'm here now in South Africa. That's why I'm leaving today from South Africa to Germany to try to inform our people in South Africa and in Germany that this war is not over. This war is still going on. They still drop bombs. They still drop napalm. Every day people, children have to die. So that's why I'm trying to convince our people they should continue their political and their material support.
Thank you very much.
I'm certain you're going to raise a lot of support, Dr. Reinhard Erös. Thank you very much for coming to the studio, and lots of success.
Thank you.
Right, there you have it, and now it's time for Betty and the news.